Hello, and welcome to our show for the love of animals. We're so glad you joined us today. I'm Darlene Pickford.
And I'm Greg Bauer, and we want to tell our viewers about a couple of upcoming shows.
Okay.
One on hummingbirds
Ooh.
and one on grooming your cat.
Ooh.
And there will be some other surprises in later months, too.
Oh,
so,
looking good, Greg.
Well, Wicket here has decided again that he's going to nap through this whole thing.
He's going to nap,
Yes.
Okay, that's
but
right.
what do we have on tap for today, Darlene?
Well, we're going to go gone fishing again, Greg.
Okay.
This is Gone Fishing Part 2.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about two unusual types of fish.
Okay.
Okay, would you introduce our guests?
They may not be quite so unusual to an avid fisherman, but
well,
to me
well,
and
they
you,
were to me, okay.
to Darlene's immediate to her immediate right, your left as a viewer, we have Brad Richardson.
Right.
And to his right is Chaise Gilbert. They're both just finishing work as students at Murray State in the fish biology program, and they're going to talk to us about a couple of interesting fish today. So.
Well, congratulations. You just finished a degree and you're continuing your education, right?
Yes,
in fish. How did you guys get interested in fish to start with?
For me, it's always kind of been an interest. I grew up around a lot of creeks and rivers, so always playing in the water. And just kind of became part of me as I grew up.
So you were out there stomping in the mud all the time?
Every chance I got.
Every chance you got, okay.
And Chaise, how
And
about
Chaise?
I would probably say something a little similar, but I don't want to steal his thunder. So say fish have always really interested me as aquatic evolutionary wonders, and I enjoy studying about their biology and ecology.
Do you actually go fishing a lot yourself for fish?
No, I don't.
So they're precious gems to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of. I mean,
Now, and were you around Lake Barkley or Kentucky Lake?
I actually grew up in southern Illinois, so
Okay.
a lot of the Ohio and Mississippi rivers.
Ohio and
and,
Mississippi rivers.
Yeah, Crab
'Cause-
Orchard Lake, things like that.
Yeah,
so.
because here in Paducah we have people don't understand how many rivers and how much water we have around this area. Okay. Okay, Greg, shall we get started?
Sounds like a good idea. Chaise, why don't you start telling us quickly how you became interested in the bowfin?
well, the bowfin is the only known member of its family left in the taxonomic classification, and it's really primitive. It dates back to the early Cretaceous periods. The family does, and it has a really unique biology to it. And there's not really anything else that looks like it around here naturally.
So it's the last of its kind.
Yeah,
Okay.
in a sense,
What
that we
does
know
one-
of.
What does one look like?
Bowfin are described mainly by their dorsal fin, which is extremely long. Hence the name bowfin. They're generally olive in color. They have a homocircle tail with a pretty black spot on it that is highlighted in orange, and the males kind of get an orangish mottling color during breeding season. So they can be a pretty fish, in my opinion.
Oh, it sounds very colorful. And how large do they get?
They can get probably, I'd say probably a meter, a little
Okay.
over a meter maybe.
And what would
Well, maybe
the
under that.
average one be?
Probably 14 to 18 inches.
Okay. Oh,
It's a pretty decent sized fish.
Okay.
They do have a mouthful of really sharp teeth, so it's
Ooh.
not something you'd want to put your hand in.
Okay.
They can be pretty aggressive.
And we have them in this area.
Yep, they are native to our area. They originate here in North America. This particular species does, and they've been here for a long time.
So we found them both in Lake Barkley and in Kentucky Lake.
I'm sure they can be found there. I've never caught one there or seen one there, but I would imagine so.
Oh, okay, but they're known to be in the area.
Yes, they have a good population in Clark's River.
Oh, do
which
they?
is right over here in Paducah.
Okay. All right. What's their impact on the environment?
The bowfin serve as a really valuable apex predator. So they're very
Explain that.
carnivorous. Well, they consume other fishes readily, and they've been known to manage the bluegill and bass populations in our area. So they kind of keep them in check and help regulate that.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't know. Do we have too many bluegills or?
Well, It depends on the system, but in some cases, yes.
Oh, okay, so they would eat other fish. Do they eat anything else besides that?
Yeah, I've read that they also consume some crustaceans or arthropods like crayfish or maybe large bugs, large insects, minnows, members of the minnows, probably some shad.
Okay.
So they eat a variety. They eat a variety of
Eat
things.
a variety of things.
Okay.
Anything particularly unusual about them other than they're the last of their species?
They have. Last time we were here, we talked. Brad talked about the alligator gar and how they're
Right.
able to have a phytostomous swim bladder, so they can breathe air. And bowfin have the exact same capabilities to breathe air, so they can survive for long periods of time outside of the water.
Oh, can they? How
Yeah.
long?
That's a good question.
Well,
I read for as long as 48 hours
Oh,
in some
really?
cases, but that might be on the extreme end.
Mm-hmm.
huh. Goodness. Now, but are those two fish related in any way?
The alligator gar and the bowfin are related. In a sense, they have the same infraclass, so it's a subclass of a subclass.
Okay.
So they are distantly related. Yeah.
Just they're third cousins.
Yeah. Kind of.
Okay. Okay.
So that's something unique. They're both primitive fish that have some kind of relationship.
Okay.
Okay. And that we have them here.
Yep, they are native to North America from southern Florida to central Minnesota. So they have a pretty big range, and they're here in Paducah.
Okay. Would they be on the western part of the United States or only the eastern?
Their native ranges are generally on the central eastern portion.
Central eastern portion as
Yeah.
opposed to.
So,
Well,
but they've been introduced, elsewhere.
Oh, have
Not too far from here, though.
were they introduced on purpose or by accident?
They probably just found their way.
Probably just found their way. Okay.
Now, some people regard them as a really fun, angling fish, like a sport fish.
Uh-huh.
Most people don't, but some people do. So it's probably been introduced in some areas as sport fish.
Okay. Just this is something different.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not as the main course meal, for fishermen.
I've never known anybody that ever ate one. I did hear some stories about some colleagues that ate some and they didn't really enjoy it. They didn't regard it as a pleasurable experience.
Okay.
So it's not going to be on the top of the menu list.
No,
So,
I don't think so.
it's a fish of colorful interest, right?
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. He's going to talk a little bit about the paddlefish, but
Okay.
and you can chime in on me anytime you want. But
Well, before we
we
do
do
that,
that.
though, we need to take a short break and listen to a happy tale about a neat little cat named Selby. So give a listen.
This is a happy tale about Selby. In 2004, Judy Schwinder moved to Paducah to work at the National Quilt Museum. Jessica Biasi began at the museum that year also, and she got a long-haired kitten named Selby. In 2010, Jessica went into the Peace Corps and needed to find a home for Selby. Judy was happy to take her as she is a sweetie. Now Selby has a forever happy home.
Welcome back. We hope you enjoyed that tale about Selby. Just a neat little cat, we think. Well, this afternoon we have two guests with us who are fishermen.
Fishermen.
And they're talking about the paddlefish and the bowfin. And we've just heard from Chaise down on the end here on your extreme left about the bowfin. And I want to concentrate now on the paddlefish. So
Take it
Brad?
away, Chaise. Brad, excuse me.
So I kind of became interested in the paddlefish. I have a pretty common theme here. It's another primitive fish, just like when I was here last time.
Uh-huh.
Of course, Chaise and I have kind of switched roles this time, so I'm talking about a planktivore this time.
Okay.
These paddlefish are filter feeders. They swim through the water. There's only two genera found in the world anymore. There's the Chinese paddlefish and the American paddlefish.
Okay.
So we're getting kind of low on the taxonomic genera here.
Okay.
And like a lot of primitive fishes and larger fishes, they are starting to see a decline in their populations. So it's of interest anymore.
Any reason why they are declining rather than?
A lot of it is water quality issues.
Okay.
They-
Pollution.
Yeah, they are filter feeders, so they do take in a lot of stuff. And also, things like dams impede their movement upstream to spawn. So they're having problems reproducing, and then of course during spawning season, they are a popular sport fish, so you do get a lot of them caught out of the rivers because they do congregate in the same area. So
Okay, and by sport fish you mean just something of, to
something,
see if
yeah, something fun to catch.
something fun to catch,
Yeah,
something
so-
different, okay.
What,
Okay.
what makes them fun to catch?
Yeah, what
at
do they
that
look
point?
like?
They can be large. It's common for them to get to be 5 feet, maybe longer.
Really?
One of the more interesting parts about them is if you look at everything from their head back, they kind of look like a shark. They have a similar body type.
Oh, really?
They're not closely related at all, but because they're primitive, it was common of the time.
Okay,
And also, they're pretty strong swimmers, so they can put up a good fight.
oh,
they're
and sport, yeah, would like that, yeah.
They're a big fish, so it's fun to bow fish for. It's a big target.
Uh-huh.
So that kind of thing makes them a lot of fun for sport fishermen.
Okay, and tell us a little more about, you say they look like the shark, but if I were to pull it out of the river, what would it look like?
So if we start at the tail, they have a heterocircle tail, like in a shark, so you have the top lobe that's a lot longer than the
Okay.
bottom. So they kind of have the same tail. Their fins are pretty well in place, like a shark. They don't flap them a lot, like a lot of your fish, like bass.
Okay,
Of course, when you get to the head, it's completely different. A lot of people notice this big, long rostrum that sticks out from their head. That's where they get the name spoon or spoonies. That type
oh, that's
of
an
thing.
a nickname?
Yeah, same fish. And these actually have electroreceptors. So while they're swimming through the water, they can feel small magnetic fields coming from their prey. So if there's a lot of zooplankton in one area, there will be a small electrical pulse that will come off of that, and they can detect it. So they can actually figure out where their food is using that spoon.
Huh, that's
That's
a
not
real
a-
legend.
That's not a common characteristic of most fish, though, is it?
No, mainly just primitive. So things like sharks. Sharks use the same thing.
Okay.
So it's not common anymore.
Huh, okay, yeah, I know, because
New
that
World
sounds,
fishes.
huh?
New World fishes.
Yeah, New World fishes. Okay, so it would be, like you say, a small shark, if I were to pull it out of the river.
Looking at the body, you would think that,
Looking
yes.
at the body. Does it have teeth like the
No,
bowfin?
it's a filter feeder, so it basically just opens its mouth and swims through the water, trying to filter out any small little
Okay.
insects or zooplankton, things like that. So
Okay, does it eat other fish that way? Get little fish?
It possibly can, like
But
as soon as
not-
they hatch, they're small enough that they could be caught and ingested, but it won't do it on purpose or anything.
Oh, okay,
It's mainly targeting for zooplankton and phytoplankton, things like that.
okay. And I bet it would be very sensitive to changes in the water too, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Because that would affect what its food supply. Any other unique characteristic of the paddlefish?
They don't have a true spine. So
Explain
again,
that.
like sharks, they have what's called a notochord. So rather than having a rigid spine like we do, where
Right.
it's made of bone, they basically have this jelly-filled tube that runs along their back, and that's what serves as their nerve impulses.
Now, what is, as a result of that, I mean, how does that affect their behavior or their,
It does affect some swimming power, so they don't have this rigid thing to use.
right?
But other than that, it doesn't really affect behavior
Okay, so
too
it's just
much.
a difference in their anatomy.
Yeah.
And one of the byproducts of the paddlefish, I don't think we've mentioned this, is their eggs, which are caviar.
Yes.
Tell us more about that.
Unfortunately, this has led to some amount of poaching. They're a popular caviar fish. These fish can be 60, 70 pounds, and during spawning season, a quarter of that can be just eggs itself. So you can see a lot of eggs can come from one fish. And it's taken the place of a lot of sturgeon eggs. They do have a similar taste. So a lot of people, because of this poaching, are taking paddlefish eggs and selling them back as sturgeon eggs or caviar. So it's been an issue, but it is a common practice now to eat them for caviar.
Now, I think I read that it is illegal in certain places to fish for
Yes.
the paddlefish.
A lot of states along their native range, they're native to all of the Mississippi River Valley, really. In a lot of states, they're seeing a large decline, so they've outlawed any fishing of paddlefish in those
Okay.
areas.
How about Kentucky?
Kentucky is still legal. It's a popular snagging fish down below the dams,
Okay.
particularly around this area where you have a lot coming into that area. So,
Uh-huh.
yeah, still a lot of fishing going on for them here.
And but it's legal.
Yes.
Have you eaten the caviar eggs yourself?
I have not eaten caviar. I have eaten the fish itself, not the caviar.
Okay.
Not
well,
a huge caviar
how
fan.
was the fish as a fish?
I don't mind it. It's usually one of those you either love it or hate it. There's
Okay.
not much middle ground there.
What can you describe its taste
Or its consistency.
or its consistency?
It's not quite like the white meat that you would get from bass and crappie like that. It does
Okay.
have a little more of a meat texture to it,
Okay.
but it has a similar flavor, just like most fish. It's pretty good in general.
And did you catch it yourself, or
I did not. A friend actually caught that one and we filleted it up. So
you filleted? Was it fried, or how'd you fix it?
yeah, we fried it.
You fried it. There's no way. What other way do you fix? Well, of course, there are other ways you fix it. Wow, this is. I've never even seen a bowfin, and I've never seen a paddlefish
paddlefish, no.
except in the picture. So this is all.
Okay, well, we're at a good stopping point for the moment here, and we want to hear about another happy tale about a little cat called Little One, who is Selby's buddy that you heard about before. So give a listen.
This is a happy tale about Little Kitty. In 2011, Deb Lyons and Merle Pashadag, residents of Lowertown, found a tiny American short-haired kitty who was maybe a month old. Deb knows Judy Schwinder through the Paducah fiber artist and knew she was thinking about getting another cat. So, Deb called Judy. Judy met the kitty, who crawled all over Merle at the meeting, and now Little Kitty lives with Judy and her sister cat Selby. Little Kitty gets into everything and harasses Selby something awful, but they both do tear around the house together a lot, making it a very happy home.
Welcome back. We hope you enjoyed that set of happy tales about Selby and a Little One.
What cute cats.
Absolutely. We're show this afternoon is focusing on two kind of fish, the paddlefish and the bowfin. And our two guests are Brad Richardson to Darlene's right, or to her left, I'm sorry, and to his right is Chaise Gilbert. So we're taking a look at what's going on with these fish. If our viewers want to get more information, Chaise, where can they go to find out more about these?
Well,
So if they go to Facebook,
Okay.
there's a page called primitivefishes.org.
Okay.
It covers pretty much any primitive fish you can think of, and
Oh.
it really talks about a lot of the studies that are going on with them as well.
Okay.
So
So actually that .org won't get them to a site on the internet because they eliminated that site,
Yes.
correct?
yeah, so go to Facebook and you can search it there, and
Okay.
it should be the first thing you see.
Okay.
Okay. Well, speaking of, since this is about primitive fishes, both of these fish are primitive. Why is it important that we understand them or know them or preserve them? Is there? Tell us about that, Chaise.
So the bowfin, as I said earlier, it's an important apex predator to our ecosystem, which it serves as a top of the food chain fish.
Explain that.
Well, it doesn't really have a lot of predators itself. It preys on a lot of other fishes, and it's been noted in previous research that the bowfin serves as a good monitor for centrarchid population. A centrarchid is a bluegill or a bass. You know, it's those
Okay.
types of fishes, but the bowfin serves as a good maintainer for those kind of populations. These apex predators have been shown to be an important vector for natural maintenance and of checks and balances for our ecosystem. So it's important that we understand the ecology of this fish and that we help it maintain itself as we progress in time.
I might just pause for a second here because there's two words that we're using that may not be familiar to our viewers. I know I was confused on it. We talk about one fish, we talk about two fish, we talk about three fish, but we're using the word fishes. What's the difference between fish and fishes?
Fishes.
So
It's a grammar lesson.
Yeah,
exactly. If I was to say I have 100 bluegill, I could tell you that I have 100 fish.
Okay.
But if I told you I had 50 bluegill and 50 bass, I could
Gotcha.
tell you I have 100 fishes.
I
So
gotcha.
fishes is to denote that you have more than one type or one species of fish.
Okay, okay.
We-
Good. We got a grammar lesson
have-
now.
Well, but we didn't want our viewers to think that we
We're
didn't.
ignorant here in Kentucky, right? That's right. We use
common.
correct grammar.
If you have one species, you say fish. You have more than one species, you say fishes.
Yeah. I won't tell you how many degrees I have before I learned that too. Okay, but I understand. So in other words, the fish are important to us because of sporting and also the food supply, right?
Right,
And
yeah.
we, with all of our environmental problems, we need to know how to sustain and
Right.
to keep the systems as quote workable and
And to keep the
populated.
to keep the ecological system in proper balance.
Exactly.
Right, exactly.
I think
And
that's a good word for it.
they're they're really old fish, and they need to be respected as anything else does. So,
Well, if they don't have many predators, I can understand why they're the last.
us mainly.
That's right. Well, us, that's true. And we are vicious at times.
That's true.
And as you say, they're not a fish that we would go down to our local restaurant and order.
No.
No,
on a Friday
that's
night.
why they survived.
But,
And Brad, with the paddlefish, what's your spin on why they're important and everything?
First of all, a lot of it comes down to water quality. They do feed on the lowest trophic level, so they can provide a lot of checks and balances as well for the lower portions. But also, the fish we talked about last time we were here with the Asian carp,
Okay.
that's one of the biggest threats to the paddlefish itself.
Oh.
They're both planktivores, so the silver and bighead carp are going to be feeding on the same things
The
they
same
are.
food supply.
They can grow to be similar sizes.
Okay.
So you're going to have a lot of competition going on between them, and the paddlefish were kind of becoming the umbrella species that we're trying to save here.
Oh, okay. All right.
because they're much more of a food supply kind of thing, plus the ecological aspects that they do are extremely important.
They're the rabbits of the fish world, right?
Yeah,
The
so
rabbits, in
so-
layman's term.
So they were here. So a lot of the things that they actually feed on have adapted with them. So they have some natural defenses to the paddlefish.
Okay.
Whereas you have the Asian carp coming in, it's just a novel predator that they've never dealt with,
Oh,
and they
that's
may not
right.
have this adaptation for it. So
Yeah.
they can really decimate the populations.
Okay, so when you introduce a foreigner to your ecological system, you just never know what changes you're going to get, right?
Exactly.
And the silver carp is a new one to our local environment.
Yeah, and
Okay.
highly efficient. So it
Highly
can be a major
efficient.
issue.
A major issue, okay, all right. What do you think the future, if you two are studying this and you're going on to graduate work in it, what do you think the future of this kind of work and study is? Any thoughts?
I think a lot of it is going to come down to population modeling and really figuring out how we can preserve these fishes that are dealing with new predators all the time, new environmental pollutants, things like that. There is a lot of behavioral studies left to do. We're still trying to figure out a lot of the things that they do and why they do them. But
Oh, okay.
I think a lot of it's also mainly going to start focusing on how we can keep them around as long as possible.
Okay.
And probably-
Manage our systems, is right.
And probably one of the key things, as you mentioned with the paddlefish, is they're affected by water quality.
Yes.
And the kind of water that they would need to have is basically the fresh, unpolluted water.
Yeah, the better the water quality, the better the paddlefish for us.
How about temperature? For example, a lot of places have had colder winters or more severe winters. How has this affected just fish in general? Or does it affect them?
A lot of places it can, particularly your sport fish.
Okay.
So you have things that really originated in the south. They've been taken to the north and to the west and things like that for sport.
Okay.
And now their weather's changing with that, and whether they're going to be able to continue to keep their populations viable is still in for question.
How about the Lake Barkley and Kentucky Lake fish?
I don't see too much of an issue happening there.
Okay.
Having Lake Barkley and Kentucky Lake there together, those two large bodies of water kind of help buffer our weather in this area, particularly in that area.
Oh, really?
So we're going to see climate changes, I'm sure.
Right.
But if nothing else, we'll see probably a greater lag in the effects that it has on some of our fishes than a lot of other places.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So they weren't as affected as we were with harsh weather.
No.
Oh,
Well, if you guys had 2 more fish to study, what would it be? I mean, you
boy.
picked these unusual, and you're giving us such an education.
absolutely.
What would be on your next quest in studying primitive fish?
Chaise?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to throw you off guard. That's a final question.
I'm going to say a common, well, it's not common, but probably anybody that studies fish would be interested, but I'm going to say the oarfish.
The O-R?
Oarfish. A-O-A-R.
The oar.
Yeah.
Does it look like an oar?
Well, it's those, if you've been following kind of the news, they've been having a lot of these things wash up on the beaches around the world.
so okay.
They're hardly
Around the
ever,
world.
yeah, they're hardly ever seen, you know.
But now all of a sudden they're dying. Some are dying.
Well, they happen. It happens occasionally,
Yeah.
but we've been seeing it more. It might just be, you know, with cell phones and stuff. People are able to document that easier, but
Well, that's possible. Yeah, that's true.
it's getting
And-
more knowledge.
Okay, the oar. Okay, and you would study what?
In all likelihood, I would probably move on to what's called the snakehead, which is actually a fish that looks like the bowfin that Chaise is talking about,
Okay.
but it can actually come out of the water and move across land to
It's the-
find other bodies of water.
It's the Oriental version of the bowfin.
Yeah, so
Really?
it's an invasive predator that's, again, highly efficient, and
And it can go across land.
yes,
For how long?
that's a good question.
Oh, okay.
But it can
Does
travel.
it move like a snake?
It basically just
Head
uses
looks
its
like a
front
snake.
fins to kind of hop, so it can make a pretty good distance to find new bodies of water. though.
Wow.
It's got some teeth on it too.
Yeah, it's
My heavens.
Well, in summary, guys, what one point do you want our viewers to remember about primitive fish?
for me. I know a lot of the sport fish get most of the press
Right.
and the money, just because of the money they bring in.
Right.
But when people look out at the lakes and the streams, there's more than just sport fish there, and every fish
absolutely.
there, it has a job. It's serving a purpose. So
That's right.
we need to be aware of everything that's out
We
there.
need to preserve those beautiful lakes and what's in them, right?
Yes.
And Chaise, what would you
I
say?
would reinforce exactly what Brad said. I think that sport fish are great. They provide a great economic service for our area, but there are other fishes that are extremely interesting and fun to watch and study. And I would-
Necessary to the ecology.
yeah, and I would always like to emphasize the importance of respecting each of these individual species as a marvel to evolutionary biology. So.
Said like a pro.
Well, we'd like to thank you, Brad and Chaise, for spending some time with us today and giving us a real education on some of the primitive fishes.
And wish
that
you luck
we-
in your graduate
Yes,
careers. I
absolutely.
mean, go for it, guys.
Thank you for
Yeah,
inviting us.
yeah, thanks
We're
for having
so
us
glad
back.
to have
You're
you
welcome.
and your passion for this. And I think we got the message out there.
I think we
Thank
did.
you so much.
Thank
So
you.
in closing, I'm Greg,
I'm Darlene.
and we have come to the end of another fun time. We learn an awful lot on,
Yes, we
on
have.
this particular show. We want to remind our viewers, though, what we tell you every time. Give your pet a little extra love today and
And every
every
day.
day. See you next time.
Bye.